What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here on the Nebraska channel at the voice of college football. In this video, we're going to give you a very early projected record for Nebraska for the upcoming 2023 season. Projection last year for Nebraska was 7-5. That's what our projection was. I personally picked this team to go 9-3. So yeah, I was way off on Nebraska. They were a major disappointment, but a lot of excitement heading into this season. We'll see if they can turn it around, but let's see what the projection looks like. This is the scale that we use. If it's a 50-50 game, it'll be in the white. That means it's a game where I think the spread will be less than a touchdown. Under 20, over 80, those are games where I think the spread will be 20 or more points. 20-29, 71-80, those are games where I think it'll be a double-digit spread, 10-19 points. 30-39%, 61-70%, those are games where I think the spread will be about a touchdown, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 points. And so for Nebraska, we start with the easy wins, and I think you can count Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech as easy wins. I realized last year they lost to a group of 5 team, but Nebraska should be better than these teams, and they should be favored by probably 20, 24 points, somewhere in that range. Maybe it's 16-18, and maybe this one should be in the blue. One of these should be in the blue. But either way, it would be counted as a win here in the projection. So those are your easy wins. Now we move on down the list to the games where I think Nebraska will be favored by about a touchdown. Colorado's interesting with Deion Sanders taking over, obviously. It's going to be a totally different team, totally different roster. The game is on the road for Nebraska. You can maybe call that a 50-50 game. Maybe they're not favored by 6 or 7 points, but just looking at where the teams were last year, Colorado was so bad. I don't know if they're going to turn things around that quickly, even though it will be a totally different team. That's a tough one to predict. I don't know what Vegas will be thinking there. Probably depends on how the teams play in their first game. But I think Nebraska, again, based off of last year, they will be favored by maybe 6 points. And then Northwestern, they should be favored. I know they lost to Northwestern last year, but after that game, Northwestern really went downhill, and really not a whole lot of reason for optimism for Northwestern this year. Nebraska playing at home, they should be favored by 7 or 8 points in that game. All right, how about the games where they'll be a clear underdog? Michigan, I think they're going to be double-digit underdogs in that game. Michigan's going to be really, really good, a top 4 team again, more than likely. It's a home game for Nebraska. Maybe that gives them a chance to make it somewhat interesting, but I really feel like Michigan will be favored by 17, 18 points in this game, and it's one that's going to be very tough for Nebraska to win. Okay, how about the rest of the schedule? And this is what you get in the Big Ten West, and then with every Big Ten West team we do, we're really counting all the games as 50-50 games, all the Big Ten West games, except for Northwestern, because the rest of these teams, there's really no separation. You know, I think there's a chance that Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, maybe those 3 teams rise up to the top of that division. But Illinois surprised us last year. Purdue, a lot of question marks for them. How good will they be? Minnesota, usually pretty solid. So it's really tough to try to figure out the Big Ten West. And so we just throw them all in there and say that these games will be 50-50. And then Michigan State, I think Nebraska probably the better team there, but it's on the road. I think that makes that one a 50-50 game as well, which means half the schedule for Nebraska is 50-50, and that's really been the story the last couple of years. They've got a lot of games that they've got to have a chance to win. They just haven't been able to win those games. They've lost so many close games, especially back in 2021. If they're going to have a good season, they're going to have to win close games. They're going to have to go on the road and maybe beat a Minnesota or an Illinois or Michigan State. Take care of business at home against Maryland, Purdue, beat Iowa again. I mean, can they do that? That's the question. And then you can't slip up and lose to Colorado or Northwestern. And that's how you lose those games. You lose a lot of close games to 50-50 games. And the next thing you know, you're not going to a bowl game again. So what we're going to do here is to get the projection, we average out the games. The games in purple are counted as 65%. Games in white is 50%. Games in the green are counted as wins. The Michigan game is counted as a loss. And then we average all that out. And the projection comes out 7-5. So same projection as last year, and that kind of makes sense. Again, when we just throw all the Big Ten West basically into one category and call them all 50-50 games, that's what you're going to get. So that's the same projection for Nebraska this year is 7-5. Obviously, they have not lived up to the projections the last couple of years. Will that change? Well, we'll see, but Again, our projection for Nebraska in 2023 is 7-5.